All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Herbstreit,
Here.
McKnight, Moody,
Here.
Vogel,
Here.
Kinder.
Here. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment on agenda items.
We have none.
All right, notice of executive session meetings?
None.
Approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve February 3rd, 2026 regular meeting minutes?
Motion.
I'll second. Discussion? Roll call.
Herbstreit,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye. Communication.
None.
All right. Presentation, MCRC. Yeah, you're up, man.
Good evening, Council. Andy Walker, the Executive Director of the Meadville Community Revitalization Corporation. Thanks for the opportunity to join you again this evening. I think it was actually May of last year that I was officially in front of you, actually for a similar action, but I'll give you an update. I know in your council packets is this sort of document. I don't know if you have this cover page of the 4-point approach, or maybe it's in the back, but there's 4 transformational strategies here. The opportunity that Meadville has, sort of collectively with MCRC in the lead, is to apply to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, DCED, to their Main Street Matters program. This is the 2nd fiscal year of that program. And that program provides the opportunity for communities to seek designation as a Main Street community. Designation would come with some benefits to the city, would be funding sort of declining over 5 years for support for a full-time Main Street manager to bring additional capacity to our downtown revitalization efforts. It would provide a one-time project implementation grant for up to $200,000 of the community's choosing. And then sort of priority status for future applications that would come from Meadville. And so when I came before you, we had developed, if you recall, MCRC was launched in July 1st of 2004, so we're just over 18 months old. And when I came to you last summer, we were still in the throes of preparing our Main Street application. And when we submitted that for sort of preliminary review by the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, they asked us to kind of retool. We had focused our strategies around our 3 focus areas: real estate and business development, placemaking, sort of the activation of public places and spaces, and then also the third being marketing and communications. And they asked us to go back and wear a more specific 4-point approach Main Street lens. And that's, I don't know if that's in your packet with this graphic, and it's very similar, but the 4 points of the National Main Street Model: economic vitality, which is akin to our real estate and business development efforts; design, akin to our placemaking efforts; promotion would be our marketing and communications. And then the 4th strategy, or 4th point, is an organization, that it requires a strong organizational base to sustain the program. And so we went back and retooled our strategies that I reviewed with you then to what is before you tonight. And without going into great detail, I'm just going to highlight the top strategy and the related goals. Last Wednesday evening, MCRC hosted an public open house to review these. I'm appreciative of the members of council that were able to attend. Thank you. Where we sort of previewed these, had individual conversations with the community, and sort of sought feedback. But transformational strategy number 1, downtown Meadville will be a place that creates opportunities for everyone to live, work, and thrive. The goals beneath that: to develop a robust entrepreneurial ecosystem, and to develop, create, improve, and activate places and spaces that promote downtown as Meadville's living room. Transformation strategy number 2, downtown Meadville reimagine its first impression on residents and visitors alike. Goal 1, to improve and maintain the general streetscape aesthetic. Goal 2, to implement a downtown facade improvement program with an emphasis on historic preservation. And Goal 3, to create opportunities for newcomers to embrace downtown Meadville. Strategy number 3, downtown Meadville will be recognized as the region's center of arts, culture, recreation, and entertainment. Goal 1, to build a robust morning to evening retail, dining, and entertainment mix to attract future residents, out-of-town visitors, and Allegheny College students. Goal 2, to connect downtown to a completed Ernst Trail network and French Creek Water Trail. That's of course not MCRC doing that work, but supporting and advocating the work that Peter over here is doing, and others. Transformational strategy number 4 then, that MCRC will bolster the downtown residential and commercial real estate market. Goal 1, create a downtown environment conducive to private investment and commercial development. Goal 2, support and develop downtown housing opportunities for residents. Goal 3, facilitate private real estate investment. And Goal 4, catalyze the local real estate market by serving as a developer of last resort. This last real estate strategy is somewhat atypical for a traditional Main Street program. Not many Main Street programs actually get into real estate development. I think we recognize that, like our compatriots at the Erie Downtown Development Corporation in Erie, that you've got to stimulate the market where maybe the private sector is enacting, and that will, much like NewPick is doing as well, right, that we've got to sort of take intervening action in the real estate market to sort of prime that pump. So with that, I'm seeking sort of an updated resolution from council to support the application to DCD. I think we can do that within a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. Just today I sent out requests for letters of support from various entities to include with the application. But essentially, around these strategies and goals is sort of a 5-year plan to implement this vision over the next 5 years with support from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'll share that we had about 35 people sign in last Friday, but that's only who met me at the front door. There's plenty of people that I think entered through the retail side at Hatch Hollow that didn't sign in. So I'm guessing 50 to 60 is my guess that attended that evening.
I think I'm one of those people that did not sign in.
I think I made you.
Right?
I think you're here.
Right. Does anybody have any questions for Andy?
May I?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Have you looked at all opportunity zones?
So the federal opportunity zone?
Yes, sir.
So we've had preliminary discussions with DCD to let them know that we're interested in which census tracts would be, which we believe to be eligible. And there are 2, one of which, yes.
One of which is a rural opportunity zone, and one of which would be a standard traditional opportunity zone. A rural opportunity zone would allow people to take capital gains, put them into a fund. They would receive a 5-year deferral on the payment of the capital gains tax that they put into the fund. And if they make the investment in a rural opportunity zone, they would receive a 30% step up in basis in the payment of that tax, meaning that if they put $100,000 into the fund, they'd pay the tax in 5 years, but only pay tax on $70,000. And the investment that they would make into a project, should they hold that investment or a series of investments for a period of 10 years, would be capital gains tax free.
So Tim, as opposed to investing in the fund, investing in an actual real estate project would be the latter.
No, you take the money, you put it in the fund,
Okay.
and then the fund makes the investment into the project. So you referenced the Erie Downtown Development
Yes.
Corporation. So when we put this together in 2017, we did $400 million worth of investment, largely of which was real estate investment into downtown Erie,
Right.
much of which supported the Erie Downtown Development Corporation. And that is a large part of the strategy that they had used.
Right.
Crawford County did not get a single opportunity zone in 2017.
Right.
So the Governor Shapiro will have the opportunity to start selecting zones July 1 for effective date January 1 of 27.
So I'm aware of that, and we've had preliminary, the mayor's aware sort of a combined sort of effort of prioritization of projects and priorities that we've submitted to the Secretary of DCD, of which that's one of them, seeking designation as an opportunity zone. What I think we probably need is a much more specific strategy that we could benefit from some consulting around in terms of setting up the fund, and that would be a conversation I'd enjoy to have offline with you or whoever you might recommend.
So I'm the guy,
Okay.
and if you'd ever want to have a quick Zoom over how to set it up, what it actually means, because you wouldn't set up the fund, you would identify the projects.
Okay.
We'd identify the potential investors, and then they could determine how it is that they would do the fund. There's a couple different options available there, and I can talk to you about that offline, but I'm helping to set that up in a number of communities.
Tim, can I see here?
So the green area in Meadville, there is the rural opportunity zone potential, and that is what would give you the most tax advantage investment opportunities.
Okay, and that would work with,
It works with every program, with the exception, you can overlay this on just about every federal and state and local program, with the exception of some new markets tax credits and some low-income housing tax credits, where the two programs don't necessarily work well together, but it would work well with just about everything else.
right? Thank you, Tim. Does anybody have any questions?
Andy, in the reframing to
Yeah.
fit the PA Downtown Center's recommendations, are any of these things new?
No, I don't, I really don't think there's anything new or dramatically different here. It's just sort of repackaged with the lens of that broader transformational strategy, and more specific to the 4 points. I can't think of something specific that would surprise you or that didn't appear in some similar form in the version that I shared with you last summer. I think we know, right, there's perhaps a bit more emphasis on sort of this entrepreneurial ecosystem, right? We've had some business losses downtown, and that's maybe elevated in terms of priority in the earlier years I did meet last week with the Gannon University Small Business Development Center, our business consultant. He unfortunately covers 2 counties, both Mercer and Crawford, and is based out of Greenville. Obviously, it has some limited capacity, but we've talked about what that might look like in spending a day, a month here in Meadville, and some conversations with another third-party consultant who might be able to provide consulting services, like business consulting services as well. So I think that's probably maybe packaged a little different and prioritized in this version for sure.
Would you say that would have been something that you wouldn't have, when you started this, that you may have overlooked, that kind of has come to the realization that we need that?
I think it's just elevated in priority. So because of our focus area being a real estate and business development, right, we know we can redo a Crawford Trust building, for instance, right, or whatever, but if we don't have businesses or housing to fill them, there's got to be a business development strategy that pairs with the real estate strategy.
Is this set in stone?
It would be for the applicant. We'll certainly would take any feedback, right, if either now or in the next couple of weeks, but arguably, I think any 5-year plan gets revisited annually. There's 1, 3, and 5 year visits with Pennsylvania Downtown Center. I think there's as local conditions change, priorities might change, so I think it's a flexible plan even from DCD's perspective.
I ask only because and you said that there was more content beyond this, but I think there could be an opportunity to work with the city on policy and advocacy, right? I think that's already happening, and I'm sure it's implied in some things,
Right.
activating second floor housing downtown, there's gonna have to be review of city policy in that, right? I imagine that's gonna be implicated, but it doesn't have to show up, but I think that there's probably a willingness, and it could be a helpful partnership to have MCRC help kind of review
zoning ordinances, et cetera, with an eye towards some of the transformation strategies, the goal setting here.
Yep, for instance, the governor just released the statewide housing action strategy, right? And there's already been internal dialogue at a staff level of, what does Meadville in general need to do to prepare to be a housing, what's the phrase, Peter?
Housing ready community.
Housing ready community,
Yeah.
thank you, Council. Yeah, housing ready community, which will be, I don't think those designation criteria are firmed up yet, but, Council's already been proactive in reviewing and zoning, updating and zoning within the last 12 to 18 months. And I think, we'll be glad to work with the city on opportunities, maybe on upper floor housing or other, where there could be improvements. This plan talks about sort of public improvements as well, right? Streetscape, public master plan, which of course is the city's public realm. And so all of those, of course, require partnership with the city, or PennDOT, for instance, in a state route, but.
So thinking like the dreaded P word, and like if, MCRC can lend some high level planning coordination around parking downtown.
Yeah, what was
What
one of
is
our
That's not showing up as a
agenda that
priority.
a priority that we talked about, the downtown, I don't know why.
Business improvement district.
Thank you, my gosh, I could not think of it. Right, like establishing that and seeing what that looks like with meeting with business owners and I think that would work well with this, with keeping the streetscape, especially
And
in the
they're
winter and parking
Yeah.
and, you know what I mean?
Right, and I think they're often, a business improvement district is often sort of a second phase to a Main Street program, of sustaining a Main Street program, to show the results of, what can a program do, and then now seek investment in that for a business improvement district. I'm already exploring, if council's aware that last summer we had what I call the MCRC crew summer maintenance program, where we had a supervisor and hired 2 students who worked part-time, litter, mulching, pruning, weed pulling, really successful. We've got grant funding to continue that in that similar fashion this summer. But we'll intend to work on a neighborhood assistance program tax credit application that could fund that the following year. So a strategy to bring in additional funds to sort of grow even just that maintenance. When it gets to snow removal in the winter, that's a whole nother level of coordination, but could be a future business improvement district service.
And just thinking of, as we're thinking of our strategies, keeping that in mind and using that as in the next year and the next step, right? Be talking to business owners for a year and rolling that out in a different,
Yeah, I
the
think-
next year or the next year.
And as council's already aware, it requires the development of a proposed program of services, which then informs a budget, which then informs, rules of law. But
Yeah.
Andy, what's the timeline?
application itself,
Application and like recognition if we would get it.
so we don't control the designation process, right? It's really DCD's mercy. I think they're only now beginning, because of all the summer and fall, the late passage of the budget, they've only now begun to award either prior designations or prior project-based grants. And so I think they probably have space now to begin to review designation applications. So we don't really control that. I would hope by June, July. I mean, is maybe a guess, but we really don't control. But in terms of submitting the application, I think we're within 2 weeks or so. First week of March anyhow.
So you're thinking submit in a couple of weeks and maybe hear back in June or July?
That's a
Kind
guess.
of. I mean,
That's a
that's
guess.
yeah,
Right.
okay, all right. Anybody have any other questions for Andy? Andy, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And
Also, thank you, Mary Ann, for the invitation to join me.
Thank you.
Okay, managers report.
I don't think that I have anything at this time. I don't think.
Got it. Old business, third and final reading, TIF district termination. Can I have a motion to approve third and final reading?
Motion.
Discussion?
Just as a reminder, this ordinance terminates the city's business tax increment financing district. This is, again, required as part of the sales agreement on the parking garage. The TIF district has exhausted its time period and served its purpose. So it's just kind of closing the books on this chapter.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, roll call.
An ordinance of the City of Meadville, Crawford County, Pennsylvania, terminating the Central Business Tax Increment District, providing for a repealer, severability, and an effective date. Herb Street,
Aye.
McKnight,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye. Can I have a motion to approve appointments for the ABC appointments, that is Water Authority and Rec Authority? Mark Gilday for the Water Authority and Rec Authority, Evan Kardosh.
I'll motion.
Second.
Discussion?
So just very quickly, for the Water Authority, Mark Gilday was a reappointment on that. So as per council policy, it's the chair, the staff liaison, and the council liaison who would interview those. Or if it's in the event of a reappointment, if the majority of those three individuals believe that they should be reappointed without interview, they can do so. That was the case for Mark. He was the only applicant received for the Water Authority, and it was determined to just reappoint without an interview. In the case of Evan Kardosh, there were two applicants, the chair, staff liaison, and council liaison all interviewed. Two out of the three supported Evan. The third said both would be good candidates and did not make a decision. So.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Roll call.
Herb Street,
Aye.
McKnight,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye. New business, discussion, French Creek recreational trails, trail access.
So Peter Evan is here, representing the French Creek Recreational Trails, and he can discuss what they're looking to do at the Race Street location.
Okay. Good evening, council. My name is Peter Roven. I am a board member with French Creek Recreational Trails. We are a nonprofit that operates the Ernst Trail and theoretically can operate any type of trail system in the region as things kind of get built out. And our goal is to kind of build trails as we see an opportunity and a community need. Recently, we worked with the county to become the caretakers of the new trail that was built by PennDOT on the Parkway. The county had to negotiate with PennDOT, and then in order for the trail to be built, the county got French Creek Recreational Trails to agree to be like the caretaker of the trail, basically. And that was what enabled the county to approve the plan for PennDOT to build the trail. And now the trail is pretty much done and construction's wrapping up. At this point, we've identified potentially some improvements to the trail that we'd like to make just to add on more connectivity to the community. And the first one, or the one I come to you tonight to discuss, is connecting to Race Street. Historically, Race Street was a street which went from Terrace across French Creek and then across Casuago Creek. But over the years, those bridges were removed, and currently Race Street, where it connects to Terrace Street, is only a stub of a street. It's about 100 feet long. But it does connect to the PennDOT right-of-way, and PennDOT removed the fence, which used to separate the parkway from the adjacent properties. So at this point, what we propose is to connect this Race Street using a pedestrian path to the new trail that is in green on your packet. And it's shown in blue as a little stub of a trail. That would be another connection to the trail. The benefit of this trail access would be there's quicker access for people from the community, potentially from Allegheny College and the north side of Meadville, to reach the trail there. Currently, the trail ends at Reynolds, which does not have a sidewalk. And so this would provide an alternative route for users to reach the trail through potentially a safer pathway. So what I come to you tonight to kind of propose is that we build the trail from where it currently is to Race Street. That would require two things. We would need to use city property or city right-of-way on the street where there's currently nothing but brush and trees in order to extend the ability of the public to travel towards the trail. And we would have to remove part of this wooden barrier that is shown in the photo at the end of Race Street, because as it is, there's a chain link fence on the left of the picture that separates the road from a ravine. And then there's a wooden barrier to keep cars from proceeding beyond the end of Race Street. So we would propose to cut out part of that barrier to maybe a width of 10 feet or less and make it the access to a trail, which would then proceed straight from the end of Race Street towards the PennDOT right of way and onto the trail. It's likely we'd build this in probably 3 phases. The first phase would be just clearing it and smoothing things out using the current ground conditions, removing brush and making it so that people could walk on it. The second phase would be adding gravel and a road bed that would be able to be a stronger base. And the third phase would be paving that trail. We don't really have a timeline for any of these, but that's typically how we approach the construction of the trail.
So for council tonight, there are 3 really items. One, just a consensus on the general concept that Peter is proposing. 2, if there were any conditions or assurances that council wanted to see as part of this. If not, that's okay. And then 3rd is just a blessing for staff and to work with Peter and to come up with what this agreement may look like. So there's not a definite, yes, we're doing this kind of decision to be made tonight. It's really just general concept, and is council fine with that?
How long is that, the proposed connection? Like,
I haven't measured. I would estimate it less than 500 feet.
okay, all right, I was just curious.
And now, if I'm not mistaken, like that small piece of road is just used for cars to go behind those houses? Am I thinking about it that the same? Like the people in those couple of houses park behind their houses and for some of them?
As far as I can tell, it's, since it's closed to through traffic, it's essentially
Yeah.
used as a private driveway.
Sure.
It's the house at the side for parking, and then, there is a dirt track behind it across other private property to reach the rear of another house there.
I mean, when I wrote down my assurances, written agreement clearly defining maintenance and liability. I think evidence of community support, I think generally speaking, Andy just talking about the MCRC and connectivity, with town and the trails, and then designing, the design minimizes any type of safety risk, but I think that for the most part, do you anticipate like any type of safety issues with that trail? In any way, I mean, just based on what it looks like, it's like Peter said, it's just a dead end street. So I mean, that's kind of what I was prepared, but I don't have, other than the defining the maintenance and liability, that's the big one that I would want to see clarified. I think the other 2 wouldn't be major issues at all.
All right.
So is it, what you guys would maintain the trail, like you said, with the different phases and?
Yes, we would. And we maintain liability insurance as well, so we would
Okay.
have to, we could name the city as a sub-insured or whatever the terminology is as well. And as far as safety risks, there is a creek that's adjacent to where the trail would go, so we might put some safety fencing along that, depending on how close we are, like whether there's a shoulder or not from the trail. If there was maybe 5 feet next to the trail of flat ground, we wouldn't need a fence, but if it's very close and someone could fall down there, we would add a fence. And then going towards the parkway, we may need to evaluate whether, I think there's a concrete barrier where the T is already. We may need to put, I don't know, a reflector sign, an arrow sign, if there's, just so that no one T-bones the barrier and goes onto the road, basically.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. It's uses what is already city right of way that is underutilized to, I think, yeah, in a pretty kind of, like low-hanging fruit way, address some safety concerns and let more people use this new trail. I live in the neighborhood. I'm excited to walk it and see how it goes. Yeah, I agree. I think with what I heard Andy name, and you know, I hope there's like 4 houses right there, 4 or 5 houses right there on that side of Terrace Street. So maybe we could let them know, invite them to a council meeting or to give communication to council or something.
Just so they know people will be on that road, you know what I mean, like, and that's what's happening, but, yeah.
So, exciting.
Yeah, and, right, like, as Andy said about the safety, right, like, you're doing this, and it takes some of those safety issues away, because you're giving us another way to get on that trail. Because right now, we walk down Reynolds, and.
I walk Reynolds to
Yeah.
get with Reynolds. It's terrifying
Um,
every time. It is. We deserve better.
But yeah, no, I think I'm all for it. You guys wanna-
I agree, I'm all for it.
I'm all for it. I just have one question. Who, materials for this, the building and an ongoing maintenance, who is that going to be provided by, your organization or?
Yeah, that would be our responsibility to provide the construction cost and maintenance cost for that.
So it looks like a pretty unanimous. I did just have, this is not on this, I just had a couple other questions. Are you guys gonna do another trail connection? Only because right out by Gill Village, right, there's an opportunity to do a connection because, you know, we see people walking on Baldwin Street all the time. And as I was walking this trail with my dog, it just seemed to me that, man, it'd be a great opportunity to connect so that people have an alternate way.
Safer.
And then I know this is probably not on your radar, but, you know, if there's a possibility for lighting at some point or whatever, it would be really cool. But I know that's, you know, not today, anytime soon. But as I was walking and thinking of people having a really safe way to get into town with this trail and the opportunity to do that, it does get pretty dark out there, right? At night. So, but those are just 2 things that I was really excited about. The trail's beautiful. Yogi loves it, so it is, you know, dog approved.
Good. And regarding the Gill Village, I do plan to talk to the housing authority about that connection possibility.
That's amazing. Yeah. It would just, I always feel like people are so, you know, walking on Baldwin Street is, it really is, especially during rain and everything. It would be really cool to have that. So I appreciate you thinking of that, and yeah, this will be great.
I have, there is a state program that I cannot remember the name of right now. I don't know if it would be conducive because, like, I think, French Creek Community Trails were, something.
Recreational.
Okay, yes, French Creek Recreational Trails, is all volunteer, so I don't know about supervision, but there's a state program that would pair, like youth in the summertime to help build and establish trails. I don't know if you guys have tapped into that.
We have not heard of that.
Okay,
That
I'll
sounds
see if I
interesting.
can find it, and I'll send it to you if I can. And then, similarly, I don't know if it's true anymore, but a long time ago, it used to be, Allegheny College used to have alternative spring breaks, and there were a group of students that would stay around here, and sometimes they would do some trail stuff. I don't know, thinking about labor and how we get it done, but I'll find the state program. Is that you, Peter?
Yeah, is that all you need, Mary Ann? Is us? Thank you so much for coming and
Yeah,
talking
thank
about it.
you.
This is exciting. It's very exciting. All right. Let's get to, okay. So, motion, 2024 audit. Motion to accept the 2024 audit. Should we discuss first, or?
Yep, we have Brian here from Zelenovsky and Axelrod, CNA. This is our new accounting firm, and he is here to review the audit with you.
Yeah.
So I think everyone probably has this in front of them, but we did issue the audit about 2 weeks ago. Like April said, this is a 2024 audit, so a little late. A lot of cleanup this year, just stuff that we were wrapping our heads around, and I think April was also wrapping her head around. So I think we have a good process now. We got everything figured out. So you will see when you go through the financial statements, if you didn't already, that there are some, basically we call them restatements. They're changes from what the audits in the past said. When we got down to looking into, for instance, receivable amounts from the water authority, like we had some discrepancies, some issues with what was reported for NASA, how some of the custodial funds, which are the funds that the city controls, but the revenues aren't, the assets aren't the cities, how those were classified. So there was some classifications that we did, adjustments and reclassifications that we made to get everything correct as of 1/1/2024, and then that runs through the 2024 audit that we performed. But it is an unmodified opinion, so when you look at the opinion, that's the first thing you'll see in the financial statements of page 1 is our opinion. It's an unmodified opinion, so that's the best opinion that we can give you. That means we believe these financial statements are materially accurate in every respect, and they're presented in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles of the United States of America. So we believe they contain everything they need to contain. We don't believe there's any misstatements, any material items that were missed or anything like that. Moving into some of the other financial statements, your management's discussion and analysis. So what we do is we put the numbers in here, and it's more of like a comparative thing. So we put the numbers in, and then we ask April to give us some context to the numbers, the changes from year to year. What does that look like? Why does that happen? A little tricky this year because April wasn't here for 2023, and you started in 2024, right? You weren't even here the whole year in 2024. So some of the knowledge was new for all of us. So some of the context that we added in there is more general than detailed, I guess, but it's still, you'll see black and white numbers. So revenues were this in 2024, revenues were that in 2023. So those numbers are all in there, and that will get more detailed going forward. Page 13 starts the financial statements. That first statement, the statement of net position, that includes everything that the city has. So capital assets, pension plans, long-term debt, that's all on page 13. That's your statement of net position, your government-wide financial statement. So that's 13 and 14 are the government-wide, basically balance sheet and income statement. Page 15 is where you'll see the general fund, and which is probably the one most people care about. That's where the vast majority of your tax revenue goes. That's your operational fund. That's the day-to-day operations of the city. You can see down at the bottom of page 15, you have about $793,000 of fund balance. What we do when we audit governments, we audit any government from a small borough to Allegheny County. So we audit a wide range of governments. Some of the benchmarks we kind of use is what is fund balance as a percentage of your operating expenditures. So your fund balance as a percentage of your operating expenditures is about 7%, right around 7%. That's probably a little low. We usually try to recommend anywhere from 10 to 15 as like a minimum baseline, because that's really your rainy day fund. You don't want to get that too low. You want to be able to have some cash on hand for anything that comes up, a leaky roof. If not, you're just at the mercy of issuing debt anytime a major expenditure comes up. So I would say that's the only thing I would point out about the fund balance. And like I said, I don't know what 2025 looks like. You might have some preliminary results for 2025 already. April obviously didn't do the 2024 budget, so it was kind of out of her control. These are just the numbers lie where they lie for this one. I will say that there was probably some manipulating of the numbers in prior years to make them look better, whether that was some extra money received from MASSA or anything like that for the debt service. But that's also stopped, so that's probably plays into it as well. But other than that, sometimes when we're up here and we present these, there's a bunch of new accounting standards. We don't have any of those to go over, so the statements outside of the numbers should appear pretty close to what they looked at last year. Our formatting's obviously a little different. Every accounting firm has their own formatting, but as far as numbers and line items, there's not any new standards that made us say, hey, we have to put all these leases on this statements, or we have to record pension liabilities now. There's nothing like that. Like I said, in note 1 was more detail of those restatements that I was talking about. So on page 34, there's some tables there, basically just saying what changed as of 1/1/2023. So those are the restatement amounts. Other than that, the notes are pretty standard. You're gonna have a lot of notes because you have 3 pension plans and retiree health insurance plans. So you're gonna have a lot of notes on those because there's a lot of required disclosures for those pension plans. But they basically just say a lot of stuff straight from the actuary reports. I assume you're probably used to seeing those numbers in the actuary reports, but a lot of that information just comes straight out of the actuary report. So your net pension liability, your deferred inflows, outflows, discount rates, everything like that, enrollment, participants, plan policies. So we get all that from the investment statements from April and from the actuary reports. So that is a significant amount of the notes that you'll see. The notes run all the way through, I think about page 70. Yeah, page 68 is the last page of the notes. Page 70 is the budgetary comparison schedule. So this is what your budgeted numbers were for 2024 and your actual amounts in comparison with the budget. So you can see there, expenditures were very much under budget, about 2.7 million, but your revenues did come in about $1 million under budget too. And really the expenditures being over budget was made up by transfers to the other funds. So on the whole, the variance was about $1 million under budget. The other RSI schedules, these are, like I said, more pension disclosures, more other post-employment benefit disclosures. And then the last couple pages are just all your other combining funds. So these aren't listed in the front with the general fund because they don't meet the definition of a major fund. So these are just the smaller funds and the smaller custodial funds that are part of the city. So this is just other supplemental information that adds more context to the columns in the front. Sorry, I went through that kind of quick, so I don't want to bore everyone with it, but fire away with any questions you have.
You said a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I like that we came in, under budget, $1 million under budget, you said. But then you said the revenues were also about $1 million shy, so it, or something of that nature, that kind of balanced it out. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think it ends up being, your net effect was negative because of the trim. When you factor in the transfers offsetting the expenditures and then the revenues being under budget, the revenues being under budget probably caused the income statement to be under budget.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
So, just to correct, the city pensions are well-funded then? That's how I interpret that?
The city pensions, so I'll give you, I think there is one schedule that shows every one of them.
Yeah, I saw they performed well in 2024 and for the most part, other than.
Yeah, so your police pension, as of the end of 2024, has a net pension asset. That means it has more in investments than it has in future projected liabilities, about $55,000. Anything that's a positive is a good for a pension plan. Most of them are, so that means you're over 100% funded. Most pension plans are probably between 80 and 100% funded. And that's where you'll see, if you look at the fireman's pension plan, they have a $1.4 million net pension liability, so they're about 83% funded. Anything over 80 is pretty good, and rating agencies are gonna look at that and say, okay, they're over 80. If you start getting under 80, then they start questioning it. I live in Allegheny County, so both the city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County are in the 50s. So that's like the first thing they look at when they have ratings calls. Because inevitably, if you don't fund your pension plans, the city's on the hook for that. If that runs out, so. But yeah, they're in pretty good shape.
And our debt is shrinking slightly as well.
A little bit every year.
That's
Yeah.
good, that's good.
And again, this is not 2025, this is 2024.
This is 2024,
Okay.
yeah. So these numbers are out of date already, but, yeah. But this was the results of 2024. And like I said, I apologize for the lateness. There was a lot to get wrap our heads around, like where certain numbers came from, who could give us what, for both us and April, so,
A lot of time together.
yeah.
Can I ask, so you said some words that piqued my interest, and that was prior manipulation of numbers. So that was, of course, under a former finance director,
Yeah,
is that correct?
yes.
And you have a high level of confidence in the veracity of the numbers that you're being provided now?
Now, yes. Yeah, we could not determine, and that's why some of the debt numbers changed. We couldn't determine where the money, so you guys issue the debt, Massa repays you for the debt. Several years back, that debt was refunded to save money on interest. Interest rates went down, made sense to refund. Massa was still charged the same amount, but we couldn't figure out. The money went in, the money seemed to never come out, but there was an entry at the end of every year to make it look like it came out. And this was 22, 23. But yeah, obviously that entry to make it look like it came out didn't happen in 24 because April was here in 2024, so.
So it's not a question of missing funds, it's just a question of the manner in which it was accounting was not standard?
Yeah, we're fairly certain that the money never went back to Massa. It just stayed in, was used by the city, which was, it's not illegal, it wasn't walking out the door, it was just, there was probably additional funds that shouldn't have been billed to Massa that were billed to Massa.
Okay. And that you are, with the current checks and balances that are in place and the current operations that are in place, you are, from an auditing standpoint, you're pleased with what's occurring now?
Yeah, every government is going to have they need to have stringent controls because they're not gonna be super staffed because there's a budget to consider. We believe that in the finance office, there is an appropriate segregation of duties, there's appropriate internal controls over everything now.
And given that you've now at least identified the irregularities that have occurred in the past, you feel, I don't want to put words in your mouth, do you feel as if going forward the audit should continue to be easier and easier as now the systems have been streamlined
Yeah.
and made more standard?
Yes, and I think you're getting a new accounting system too, correct?
We'll find out next month.
Okay, but yeah, because a lot of that was, Finance Plus is hard, it doesn't give you one report, it gives you two reports that you combine into one for a trial balance. So, yeah, that was one hurdle, and we've dealt with Finance Plus before, other places, and that's always a hurdle. But now we know where everything comes from, I think April knows where everything comes from, so yeah, I think going forward, it's going to be less, there was a lot of basically discovery time in the audit this year, and there's always more time the first year of a new audit anyway. I think there was probably a little extra this year for that, but I do think going forward, we have a good system now.
And in your review of the debt position of the city, you said that we have a high level of debt.
So your debt looks worse if you just looked at the gross amount, because a lot of your debt is also debt that's coming back to you. So you have, I think, $38 million, almost $40 million of debt, but you also have $13 million that's owed to you by other entities that you got the debt on behalf of.
Do you think that the debt, the manner, that, I want to make sure I say this correctly. The transactions that we entered into, are they standard for municipal entities?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the city can get the better interest rates. So you're getting it on behalf of other entities that also support the residents of the city. So it makes sense for that to occur.
Good.
I mean, since you kind of opened the
Just
door
things
for
that
that,
you
I just
wanted
wanted to,
Great questions, Tim.
yeah, no, you opened the door for that, Tim.
Yeah.
For discovery here. What are those organizations that we are taking debt on?
Massa and Mawa.
Just the two that were owed $13
City.
million from, because we took the debt on? All right, I just wanted to, right, like, when she said that, I wanted to make sure
I
that.
just want to make sure everybody was clear, because there's
Yeah.
some words that were somewhat alarming, so I wanted you to be aware of
It was a great
kind of the
cross-examination.
larger
isn't
things.
it? We appreciate that.
Yeah, and like, honestly, we see that a lot because, like I said, you can get the better interest rate.
Yeah.
Is there anything glaring in the audit that you wish we would have asked you about?
No, I mean, if there's something that I think is glaring, it's part of what I would bring up, so, I would never come into a meeting saying, I hope they don't ask me about this. I would meet it head on, because then you kind of look silly if they do ask it, and why didn't you bring this up on your own?
Good. Thank you.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions?
The last page you draw attention to is 70, so that's what I'm looking at. And in particular, the debt service that we budgeted, but isn't accounted for in actuals.
I think, so that's what I was saying, the transfer amount. So that ends up just looking weird because the debt service doesn't come straight out of the general fund. It gets transferred to the debt service fund and then paid out of the debt service fund. So that's why it looks like you're $2.7 million ahead at the top, and really 1.25 of it went out in a transfer to the debt service fund. And that's just, it's weird that we have to show it that way, because it's just the way it's budgeted, but,
And the audits are every single year?
it will be
Starting
starting 2020.
It's like, when you're coming back.
Yeah. Yep, April's pretty tired of this.
No, not at all. Nicole and I are like this right now, so.
But truly, what is the timeline for the 2025 audit?
So we would start in March or April, and we hope to have it done by September.
That's good, yeah, I'm like looking at some of the, still on the same page and looking at the discrepancy between what was budgeted and actual. Also hearing that there was some recalibration, so I get that. I'm just wondering like, what did we budget? What did our most recent budgets look like? 'Cause we probably, okay.
Okay, I think there's a, if I'm not mistaken, there's a motion on the floor to Yeah, I asked for a motion, and I said, should we, but nobody said anything,
So we're not one of one.
so then I have to ask again. Did you
I
say?
thought I did, or maybe.
There's not,
No,
there wasn't.
there's
we
no
did
motion
not-
on the
we
floor.
did not have
Okay,
a
got
motion.
it. Can I have a motion to approve the 2024 audit, to accept the 2024 audit, excuse me?
Motion?
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks
See you
for
soon.
being here and clear. Roll call.
Herbstreit,
Aye.
McKnight,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye. All right, discussion S&P rating.
So this kind of worked out well to roll in from one discussion to the other while we're kind of on this subject. Is the S&P ratings do an annual rating, and this goes towards our debt whenever we go to file for debt, to borrow or things like that. But it is important to keep a good rating, like any credit rating. And we have gone from an A+ to an A-. And the two key components from that was tax revenue is our sole highest revenue, and debt is our highest expense. And what is happening is, over the years, with not raising taxes being our highest revenue, our fund balance is depleting. Like our audit just stated, it's under 10%. And that raises concerns in our rating. Because there are no policies in place, no anything to kind of buffer that, they look at everything when that comes up. So a couple things to kind of take away. Expenditures are growing faster than the revenues. There has not been any tax increase over the past few years to kind of keep that balance. The system of borrowing every 3 years has now kind of rearing its ugly head of its negative impact on our fund balance. So some fixes that the rating committee, whenever they come back and want to review with us, one of the things is they want to see a plan of action. So it's me being the middleman of communicating with council and then communicating with the rating committee, that council is formulating a plan to help revenues in the fund balance, and going back to the rating and telling them that, yes, council is on board, this is our plan. A couple other actions is, which is, as we discussed last meeting on our policies, our priorities, is a fund balance policy. We don't have any type of policies to kind of follow, to kind of form bumpers, so to speak, that we can keep a 10 to 12% fund balance at all times, which would be a policy that we can place. And for debt and investments that we can also, you can set up policies to not take on more than X amount of debt. Those would be beneficial for the rating committee also, to see us being proactive in handling this.
So first, you were saying the 3-year borrowing schedule, which we are not on anymore, right?
Correct.
Like we have stopped,
Correct.
Which was a practice done for years and years and years, right? And you conveyed that we are no longer on this? Okay.
Yep.
And then, when you're talking about revenues, obviously that's taxes, right? Like that's, and we have been trying to lighten the burden for our residents, right? And haven't raised taxes for 3 years. And now have, kind of bared the brunt of that, right? What is your plan of action besides the policies, right? Because 12% in the account when we have 7%, what does that look like in taxes? And what, right, like, you know, what is your plan as to, like, what are you gonna ask us for to start helping this in the next couple of years to be on some sort of schedule is kind of where my head is at when you speak about that. Go ahead, do you have something to add, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say either what's the plan, or like, what's our plan to get to a plan? Like recognizing that, like,
Yeah.
if the answer were easy, we would have done it already.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, what's it look like for us to get to a place where we've got the plan that you can go back to and say, this is the plan that, you know, council.
Not to put you on the spot, April, I'm just like, right, like, what does all of this
What does
mean,
the
and how
plan-
do we,
yeah.
you know,
What do we do?
like, yeah, and where, how do we get there? And I know we plan to do this more, speaking in public about, right, and I don't know if that's the plan, right, like, it's to build a plan, right, like, at council meetings, but
I think what's happening, like right now, you know, I think council has worked very hard at not putting a tax burden on residents. And unfortunately, we are absorbing that and those issues that come up when you're trying to, you know, rob Peter to pay Paul. I mean, is really what it boils down to. So now that I'm kind of I got hit all in the same week with two items that told me, you know, the fund balance is not where it needs to be. I think now I'm getting tools in my toolbox, you know, to say, okay, they need a higher fund balance, this needs a higher fund balance. Okay, now how do we do that fund balance? So now it would be, my idea is to kind of start bringing ideas to council and saying, you know, what about this? What about that? And it's not going to be a 1-year plan. It's got to be 3, 5, 7, 10-year plan to not only get us out of this, but to set up for better future finances. So do I have an exact plan? No.
but you have an idea to
But-
start, right,
right,
like, building a
right.
plan,
Yeah,
You have concepts of the plan?
Yeah, we got
Yeah, concepts of the plan, yes.
we got it.
So I mean, I think like in reading this and then hearing this tonight, like, you know, I think we, at our study session, said something around like making city operations sustainable, right, which like included budgetary stuff, and I think like, this was really helpful in making those actionable, like what that actually means could be drafting and adopting policies for stronger financial management framework, like debt, investment reserves, like. So to do that, and also to develop and maintain a formalized long-term financial forecast or long-term capital improvement plan, the recommendations, do we get outside support, do we need outside support for that? Do we need a process, like, what should we be kind of like keeping our eyes open for, or like bringing to the table if we can find it, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think it's just one thing, I think it's a lot. So, you know, like Marion just said, we have PFM that help, you know, the debt management team that kind of, you know, is our advisory council for our debt. The bonds are pretty solid, but she's there. She just called me a couple weeks ago and just said, hey, you know, how are things going?
So could they help to develop a policy
Correct.
around debt?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So I think it's not one thing. I think with each, you know, investments, okay, we look at where we're invested at. We're invested in Marquette, we're invested in Pliget, you know, what's our balances there? What kind of interest, you know, looking at historical data, and then, you know, how do we want to move forward? What do we want? What's realistic? I do think you have to break all three apart, but they all have to work together. Yeah.
So it sounds like for the debt, because we have a firm that we work with, like there's already support there to help develop that.
Yep.
Does that mean like to work on the policies for investments and reserves, like we do that in-house? Are there other like supports that we might be able to tap?
Yeah, so I've done this with other entities before, and, you know, PFM's a great support. They have a couple different arms of PFM. The one that April's been working with directly is the debt side and the people that analyze that. There's other sides that will look at projections, taking a look at your budgets, taking a look at your spending, put 4 or 5 year projections out, be able to give you the impact of, well, if you do X, this is how much taxes are gonna have to go up to do that. They will help draft the policies that are necessary to build out your capital management plan. And then ultimately, you could get to the place where a couple of the groups that I started this with, 15 years ago, are where they're issuing debt in lieu of spending cash, because keeping that cash on hand in your fund balance
Keep it over 10.
actually has a more positive impact than it would be if you were spending that cash. So, I mean, there's ways to get there. April's absolutely correct. It is a long-term plan, but getting set up and getting the bones of that started now, is the right way to do it.
And is that kind of work included in what we already pay them to do for us? Okay, what, so you're,
We're getting
what are
yay.
you saying yes?
We're
You're saying
getting
no.
no.
I'm saying yes, I mean, some of it, but
Some
not
of it,
the
no.
other arms
Not
of
the
it, no.
long-term forecasting.
The policy
But-
side is,
but
Yeah.
policy
Yeah,
they
okay.
could,
but the
additional
long-term
stuff would
forecasting is
be.
not.
Right.
Okay, and we, okay. Sorry.
She answered, that was my question. I just wanted clarification on this organization. What does the acronym stand for?
Public finance management.
Okay, I just wanted, and so we're paying them to help us manage, but this would be an extra cost if we wanted to do all the forecast and.
We don't,
PFM gets paid when you have a closing,
Yeah.
when you do
okay.
another financing.
Oh, okay.
So they work to get you to that place where you can go out and do those financings. So right now, you don't pay them, which is nice.
Okay. Thank you for that
They
clarification.
want us to borrow.
I'm super interested in that $13 million that's owed to us, right? Like, how does, and that just still looks like debt, right? Like,
well, it's
do you know what I mean?
not owed to the city, it's owed to the bonds.
Okay,
Yeah, so we went
Yeah.
out, we issue a bond, and then we get it and give the money to Massa or Mawa, and then we would enter into a note with them, and then they would pay us the money that would be necessary to pay off the bonds, plus an administrative fee.
okay, I'm just,
And going back to that manipulating, we were overcharging Massa or Mawa and then uncertain where that was going. Is that kind of what he was suggesting?
it was all on paper.
Yeah.
It wasn't like.
Yeah, it wasn't missing, but just that's what this is all tied.
There are various strategies that could be used to make your financial position to look better than it actually
Okay.
was.
All right.
And you are getting a more clear picture of the reality now. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Great job, April. You're doing a great job. I appreciate it. Good vote of confidence.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I think personally, oh, sorry, Autumn, go ahead. I'll let you.
Oh, no, I was just gonna try to get a pulse of council, like, are we, we haven't, I don't know that we've like totally solidified our priorities for the year, but again, just like resurfacing some of these like, well,
I think-
like developing policies is like, that's within our control and we can do that. It sounds like
That's
you have
my priority.
support, yeah, okay, like, think we should, we should name the.
Just to be clear though, those policies are administrative.
Yeah.
They're not council-based approved policies. Those would be administrative policies that will be put in place by the finance office in Mary Ann.
Yeah, and I still think, so plenty of stuff that we were
Yeah.
looking at last week would be staff-led or, right, it's just, I think, to me, part of the value of like naming those, things, we're like, we are not gonna ask you to do more things because we recognize, like, we're all saying this is a priority for the year and like, so we're not gonna, we can remind ourselves of that and say, no, we're not gonna look into that this year because we're doing this.
So
And
as,
get
as we're
some
talking,
progress.
that is one of those priorities that we now have
Yeah, I
to
was
step
just
over,
asking if,
this is
like,
a guaranteed
If
priority,
we
we're
wanna
gonna,
have that,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think
It sounds
this
like it is one.
So I have a
Yeah.
question.
a measurable one. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
The $13 million that is owed, is that part of the reason, is that part of the debt that has caused a A- rating?
No.
Okay,
It's not owed to
that's
us.
all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
But I think moving that rating up next year is a measurable goal for us, showing that we're making progress
Yeah.
towards
There you go.
addressing the long-term financial sustainability.
And that may take a
Are you
more than 1
correct? Is
year,
that,
right?
or is this kind of maybe just an
I'd say-
overrated thing?
I'd say managing, maintaining where you are and not slipping.
Not slipping, okay.
And is a reasonable goal, and that moving it up might be a 3-year.
Okay, all right, that's great to know,
That's
that's, yeah.
Is that fair? I said maintaining where we are without slipping is a reasonable goal, and moving it up might be a 3-year goal.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the A- is still a very strong rating.
Still an A.
It's
Still an A.
Yeah, so,
If this was algebra, I'd be happier than hell.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Does anybody have any other questions for April before we move on?
Sorry, you're stuck on 13 million.
I know, I know.
I'm stuck on our priorities and, the capital plan had showed up as a staff priority for the year and that's also, right, like the long-term capital improvement plan, either or with the forecasting, I think, so just raising that up, that, is that something that we should look for support with, or is that something we can do in-house? We can do that.
I mean, we'd probably talk to PFM, have a conversation with PFM about the debt, or that part of it, and then the other part we can do in-house, I think.
The capital, the long-term.
The part with capital, I think, is to be open to all avenues of help, just because the city has, for the past 30 years, the only capital was borrowed capital. So we're kind of starting from the ground up.
Sure.
What do you mean by all forms of help? Like infusion or like support to develop the plan?
So support for, on the administrative side, support of how to grow a capital fund, things like that. So that's
Like a
where like
strategic-
PFM would come in, things like that. But then, how do we build a budget for capital? Well, we need the money to build the budget, so, maybe that might be a long-term goal, but we work on A before we work with B. A is building the finance, C is then the spending plan. But I feel that between PFM, GFOA, like, I have the Government Finance of America.
Okay. I ask these things because as stuff just gets, you get emails from Fallon, Michelle, right? Knowing like what to look for in terms of like opportunities for grant funding, whether it's private or state, and like what's coming, to know like what's worth sending to staff to say like, can you look into this? A filter for me is helpful, so thank you for.
Which we've had an email discussion not too long ago.
Yeah.
This is beneficial.
Tell me if it's not, right? Otherwise, I'll just keep sending them, but it is helpful to know like what that might look like, so, okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Resolution recognize Ferry upon retirement. Can I have a motion to approve resolution?
Motion.
second.
Discussion?
So, K-9 Ferry is retired as of February 2nd-ish. So he has been with the department since August of, 2019, thank you. With Sergeant Provost as his handler. And Ferry has decided it's time to retire.
It's gonna stay on part-time.
No, unfortunately not. Sergeant Provost didn't want any special ceremony, although I would love to have thrown a doggy retirement party for him, but the resolution will have to suffice. Ferry will be replaced by another dog. His name is Dorian. He will be with Officer Dowdy. We expect Dorian to arrive April of this year. May 1st will be his start date. So he'll graduate Puppy Police Academy in April with the start date.
That's amazing. It's a wonderful thing to have a job right out of college too.
It really is, right?
You know, I mean, not all of us get all
And I
that.
will say that Dorian was paid for out of no city funds, entirely community-driven donations.
Amazing.
That's great.
Keep them coming, community. You can donate to anything to do. All the police want a dog, so.
Yeah, we'll have dogs everywhere, if that's what it takes.
All right, where am I at here? Roll call?
A resolution of the Council of the City of Meadville recognizing and honoring K-9 Ferry upon his retirement from the Meadville Police Department. Resolved by the Council of the City of Meadville that whereas the City of Meadville proudly recognizes K-9 Ferry, a loyal and dedicated member of the Meadville Police Department who has faithfully served the community since August 2019. And whereas at just 8 years old, Ferry has demonstrated unwavering commitment, professionalism, and enthusiasm while working alongside his handler, Sergeant Provost, forming a trusted partnership that enhanced public safety and strengthened community relationships. And whereas throughout his years of service, Ferry has supported law enforcement operations with skill, bravery, and an exceptional nose for duty, all while bringing smiles, comfort, and a sense of connection to residents, officers, and visitors alike. And whereas, beyond the important work of policing, Ferry has served as an ambassador of goodwill, reminding the Meadville community that courage can come with 4 paws, a wagging tail, and a very good boy attitude. And whereas, after years of honorable service, Ferry has made the wise and heartfelt decision to retire from active duty and transition into a well-earned new role as a full-time companion and beloved pet at home. And whereas the City of Meadville wishes to express its deep gratitude to Sergeant Provost for his partnership, care, and dedication to Ferry throughout their service together. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Meadville does hereby commend and celebrate K-9 Ferry for his years of outstanding service, loyalty, and devotion to the safety and the spirit of the community. Be it further resolved that the city extends its sincerest appreciation to Ferry for a job exceptionally well done and wishes him a retirement filled with long naps, extra treats, belly rubs, and the freedom to simply enjoy being a dog. Herbstreit,
Aye.
McKnight,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
Vogel, Kinder.
Aye. Resolution authorizing signatures for MCRC Main Street designation support letter. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion.
This is just a reauthorization of the support letter that the previous council had authorized in May of 2025. Not much has changed, as Andy pointed out, some reorganization of the 4 points, but same letter.
I'm just hoping we get it.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? All right, roll call.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Meadville, Meadville, Pennsylvania, in support of the filing of a proposal by the Meadville Community Revitalization Corporation with the Department of Community and Economic Development, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, for Main Street Program designation. Herbstreit,
Aye.
McKnight,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye. Public comment on non-agenda items?
We have none tonight.
Right on. Council member statements, Andy?
Just gonna focus my comments on how, like, our discussions tonight fit into our 2026 priorities. I think, definitely I know April mentioning, what can I do personally as a council person? Get more educated on the budget and that process. And kind of, this audit book is quite meaty and beefy, and, you know, not looking, we're living in the accounting world. You know, we exchanged some emails back and forth, and I appreciate that. But I feel like this is the part of that education process. So, you know, that S&P downgrade isn't ideal, but the A- rating is still strong. I think we take those recommendations, we take action on those recommendations to kind of create a more sustainable budget. And over the next 3, 5, 7 years, we put the city in a better financial situation. And I also want to thank Andy and the MCRC for them taking leadership in the downtown revitalization. This is another thing we talked about as one of our priorities. Their momentum is encouraging. The open house was great. I love, you know, their transformational strategies. And I think the strong partnerships between the city government and organizations like that are key to our future. So I already feel better that we are moving on several of our 2026 priorities after this meeting this evening.
Thank you, Andy. Mary?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Larry?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thanks for being here tonight, folks. It's good to have an audience. Hope you got what you came for. Thanks, April, and our staff for doing all the hard work and due diligence that you do to keep the city running and improving our operations all the time. Appreciate that. I think since our last meeting, went to the Shade Tree Commission meeting. They were working on some new planting plans and some grant applications for some work coming down the pike. Peter was also there and helping them to kind of understand the money that they do have access to, how to utilize that and utilize that better. So that was nice to hear. We may have some new trees in town. Today I stopped into Lola's Place, a new business on the corner of Chestnut and Park Avenue. So congratulations to them for opening. And there were other businesses recently who've marked some anniversaries. I was also in Bark and Branch, and they just celebrated a year 2 weeks ago, something like that. Last week, Hatch Hollow celebrated their 8 years in business as a co-working space, and Purple Box Games recently celebrated 9 years. Those are just the ones I know about, so just want to extend congratulations and gratitude to those business owners for being here, for choosing Meadville and continuing to serve the folks here. We see some go, we see businesses close, and people talk a lot about that. So it's, I think, helpful to recognize the folks that are making it work and making a go of living out their dream here in downtown Meadville. So, and thanks, I'm glad we're gonna have more support to be able to offer to those folks and make our downtown and our larger community thrive.
Thanks, Autumn. I wanna, although these are hard conversations, right, we're having with budget and things like that, I'm really appreciating us starting early and really getting to understand some of the things that, we may have to do and creating that long-term plan. And I think that helps, for whatever 1 or 2 people that watch these things, right? I think that is, right, that it helps, right? Like it's a kind of a beautiful thing, and I'm excited to do this for a long time to so the public understands what's really happening. I'm really excited about the Parkway Trail connection, not just for this small one and because I live in that neighborhood and I will use it, but like the fact that we're thinking about other connections and how that affects safety and other people's vitality, right? Like, and the ability to get to and from where they need to go, and I think that's really amazing. It really is a testament to the people who live here and how. Although it is not easy, we are planning for people and the people who live here, and I think that's a full circle, honestly. So that is a beautiful thing to me. And the weather is getting sunshiny, thank goodness, and the snow is melting even though there's mud. And as I discussed earlier, lots of dog poop everywhere. I'm hoping we get a handle on that, right? Like, but it was really nice to, right? Like,
Have the snow high.
yeah, the snow hit everything, but now it's time, right? It's time to get it cleaned up. And so just gonna put that out there that we're now walking on sidewalks and it's nice to have all that cleaned up.
Clean up after your dogs.
Yes, please.
FYI, there is a company that will come around and clean up dog poop out of your yard.
Is that in Meadville?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll try to find out the name of people that want.
Right out. There is a company that will clean up after your dog. Sounds like a good business. Yeah, again, thanks staff for just doing the good work. It's good stuff. And with that, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Herbstreit,
Aye.
McKnight,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
Vogel,
Aye.
Kinder.
Aye.